What's up, everyone? The countdown to NBA basketball keeps ticking, and Media Day just gave us a massive appetizer of what's to come. And let's be honest, Media Day is pure gold. Why? Because there's no scoreboard yet. Nobody's lost, nobody's won, and everybody's convinced they're about to have the best season of their career. Players are fresh, rested, and apparently in the best shape of their lives. It's the one day of the year where optimism runs unchecked and teams get to dream big before reality hits in training camp. But let's talk about the Celtics, because Joe Mazzulla might have just dropped one of the wildest concepts we've heard from a coach in a long time. According to Jordan Walsh, Mazzulla has been floating the idea of a 5-in, 5-out rotation system. That's right, full hockey-style line changes. Instead of your typical NBA substitution patterns, we're talking entire units being swapped every 4 to 5 minutes. At first glance, it sounds kind of insane, but when you dig deeper, maybe it's not as wild as it seems. The philosophy here is pretty clear. Maximize effort in short bursts. Rather than stretching guys thin over long stretches, you get 5 fresh legs hitting the floor like mad dogs, burning with intensity, then subbing out for another wave of players ready to do the same. It's aggressive. It's unconventional, but it might be exactly what this team needs, especially with a roster that doesn't have the same top-heavy talent we've seen in recent years. No Tatum, at least for now, and a lot of question marks around who's going to step up. If you're not loaded with all-NBA guys, maybe you lean into being the hardest-working team on the court. And that reminds me of last year's Indiana Pacers. If you watched them during their playoff run, or even in the regular season, you saw it. They played harder than everybody. It sounds basic, but effort translated into real wins. They pressed full court, picked up at every opportunity, and brought relentless energy night after night. That kind of chaos can throw teams off, especially in the regular season. And it kind of feels like Mazzulla took notes. This could be a strategy born out of necessity. No Tatum, a front court full of question marks, and a bench packed with role players still trying to find their identity. So maybe the solution is to outwork and outrun everyone. Go full throttle for 4 minutes, then reset. It's not about conserving energy. It's about emptying the tank every time you're out there. And honestly, that might be the best way to evaluate who belongs in this rotation. Who can actually bring that effort consistently? Who's in the kind of shape to thrive in a system like that? And yeah, it sounds a little like something out of a feel-good sports movie. A team of misfits playing with heart to overcome the odds. But sometimes that's what works, especially in the grind of the regular season, where consistency and hustle can steal you games. But let's zoom in on the Tatum situation for a second. Last week, he was out there sounding like he could lace up tomorrow. This week, whole different tone. It feels like he's walking things back a bit, saying the focus is just on rehabbing and getting back to 100%, which is the smart move. If Tatum's not fully healthy, don't bring him back just to throw him into meaningless games. No minute restrictions, no 1 game on, 1 game off. If he returns, it has to be with full clearance, mentally and physically. And the Celtics need to be in the right position, too. If by mid-season, they're floundering around the bottom of the playoff picture, or worse out of it, then what's the point? Shut them down, keep building for next year, and maybe even position yourself for a better draft pick. Whether you use that pick or trade it, it's an asset. It's not about tanking, it's about being strategic. You don't throw your star player back in the fire just to chase a 10th seed and get bounced in the play-in. Now, let's go back to Mazzulla and this shift-style game plan. If you got a roster filled with guys like Jordan Walsh, Baylor Shyman, Hugo Gonzalez, players with energy, youth, and a lot to prove, why not unleash them? Let them go wild in short stints, press the ball, create chaos, and see who rises. And if it works, keep it rolling. And if it doesn't, fine. You're still learning who's ready to be part of the long-term plan once Tatum is back. The frontcourt situation is even more of a mystery. Xavier Tillman is reportedly down 12 pounds and working on his three-point shot. That sounds great on paper, but hitting open threes in an empty gym and knocking them down in a real NBA game are two very different things. We've seen this story before. The offseason hype around a big man suddenly developing a jumper. Sometimes it works, sometimes it's all noise. but the opportunity is there. Brad Stevens himself admitted they don't know what this rotation looks like yet. That's real transparency and, honestly, refreshing to hear from front office. Namias Quetta might have the inside track to start. He's had good moments and has the tools, but nothing's locked in. Then there's Luka Garza. Look, we know what Garza is, a bucket getter who struggles defensively. It's hard to see him carving out a consistent role unless he makes a massive leap. But again, this is the beauty of training camp. Let these guys battle it out. Open competition usually brings out the best in people. Josh Minot also got some attention. Apparently, he's enjoying working with Mazzulla, who continues to be described by just about everyone as a bit of a weirdo, but in a good way. There's something about Mazzulla that players seem to connect with, even if they joke about his quirks. That kind of vibe can go a long way when you're trying to build trust with a group that's still figuring itself out. As for Anthony Simons, his first media day in Boston sparked a lot of conversation, especially around defense. He said all the right things, that he's excited to be in a culture that values winning, that he wants to step up defensively, and that he's ready to embrace the tone set by guys like Derek White and Jaylen Brown. But here's the thing. It's one thing to say it, another to live it. Defense isn't just about system. It's about effort, pride, and being locked in every possession. Simons has always been known for his offense. If he really wants to be part of this next phase in Boston, that buy-in on defense can't just be talk. The Celtics are betting on culture here. That being around competitors will bring the best out of guys who maybe haven't been held to that standard before. And look, sometimes that works. Sometimes a change of scenery, a new coach, a new system can flip the switch. But the margin for error this season is going to be tight. Everyone's going to need to bring it every night. And while we're talking about new surroundings, let's not forget about Time Lord. Robert Williams still isn't cleared for contact in Portland, and it's just a brutal reminder of what could have been. When healthy, Williams is a game changer. But that, when healthy, part has always been the catch. The injuries keep stacking up, and now Portland is left wondering if they'll ever get the version of Time Lord that Boston fans fell in love with. Meanwhile, Jaylen Brown was out here doing media day on Twitch. Yeah, live streaming the whole time. And not just that, he had Bill Nye the Science Guy with him. That's right. While players were fielding questions about defensive schemes and rotations, Bill Nye was hanging out on JB's Twitch channel, talking science. The league is different now, man. But honestly, Jaylen looked good. He said, this is the healthiest he's felt in a long time, which lines up with what we saw last year. He was clearly limited at times with that knee issue. Now, he says he's 100%, and more importantly, mentally in a good place. Therapy talk, self-awareness, comfort in his own skin. All signs that he's coming into this season with a clear head. That's huge for a guy who's going to be leaned on more than ever while Tatum is out. Even Peyton Pritchard had some strong words. He's been in Boston since August, working out, locking in, and like everyone else, praising Tatum's work ethic during his recovery. He even said he's cut out alcohol and is focusing on sleep and recovery to be ready for increased minutes. Again, it's media day, so everyone's got a new diet, a new workout plan, and a fresh mindset. But when it comes to Pritchard, those minutes are there for the taking. And if he wants to be part of a consistent rotation, this is the time to make that leap. It's still early, and we haven't seen a single preseason minute. But from everything we've heard, this Celtics team knows they're in a transitional phase. There's no pretending otherwise. So instead of trying to force old expectations onto a new reality, maybe they're doing the smart thing, embracing the weird, doubling down on effort, and experimenting their way into a new identity. And in a league that often rewards risk, that might just be the smartest move of all. And as we head deeper into the start of training camp, that experimentation is going to become the core storyline around this team. There are no guarantees right now, no set rotations, no locked-in starters outside of maybe Jaylen Brown and Derek White. Everything else is up for grabs, and honestly, that makes things a lot more interesting. Teams like the Celtics, when they're healthy, often rely on familiarity and consistency. But when the cornerstone is missing and the roster is filled with role players, it becomes about discovery. Who fits where? Who can handle more responsibility? And who's going to earn their way into meaningful minutes? This is where we start hearing about camp darlings, guys who surprise in practice, outwork their expectations, and force the coaching staff to take notice. You've got Hugo Gonzalez, Baylor Shyman, Jordan Walsh, players that might have been afterthoughts 6 months ago, now staring at a legitimate opportunity to contribute. Not because they're being handed anything, but because the system being built actually demands their type of energy. You can't run a shift-style rotation without depth. You can't press full court with 6 or 7 guys. You need a full bench of players who are conditioned, aggressive, and locked in. So these training camp reports are going to matter. If a guy like Hugo Gonzalez starts drawing praise for his defensive pressure or energy, it's not just fluff. It might be a sign he's carving out a real role. And with Tatum out indefinitely, someone's going to have to carry some offensive weight. That's where Anthony Simons could become a key piece, not just as a scorer, but as a tone setter. He has the talent, the shooting, the creativity, the scoring punch, all of that is there. But in Boston, it can't just be about buckets. They need balance. So the question becomes, can Simons develop enough discipline on defense to stay on the floor during critical stretches? Can he mesh with Jaylen Brown without stepping on toes? And can he evolve from a guy who puts up stats to a player who impacts winning? That's the transition this team is hoping for. And look, not every experiment is going to work. That's the nature of a team in transition. Some of these rotations will fall flat. Some of these players won't rise to the occasion. But that's what the regular season is for when you're not chasing the top seed. It's about learning what works and trimming the fat. That's why a guy like Xavier Tillman becomes so intriguing. If his three-point shot holds up in actual games, he suddenly becomes a viable stretch big in a front court desperate for reliable options. If it doesn't, you move on. But the window to prove yourself is wide open. And while everyone's talking about rotations and roles, the mental side of this process is just as important. Media Day gave us a glimpse into where guys are at emotionally, and honestly, it was one of the more uplifting Celtics media days in recent memory. Jaylen Brown talking about feeling more comfortable in his own skin, about being healthy, about opening up, that stuff matters. When your veteran leaders are grounded, it gives the younger guys a foundation to build from. That kind of leadership, especially with Tatum sidelined, can shape the tone of the entire season. Even someone like Sam Hauser, who admitted he thought he might get traded this offseason, spoke with perspective. No bitterness, no drama, just a guy who's ready to compete and contribute wherever he can. That kind of maturity throughout the locker room is rare, especially on a team that could easily feel directionless without its star. Instead, what we're seeing is a group that seems oddly aligned in trying to make the best out of this situation. No one's moping around. No one's checked out. They're locked in, even if they're not quite sure what the end goal is yet. And one thing we can't ignore, everyone's watching Jason Tatum. Not because of what he's doing on the court, but because of how he's approaching his recovery. He's not just hiding behind closed doors. He's in the gym. He's around the team. He's working every day. And that visibility means something. When your franchise player is setting the example, it resonates. That's why every teammate who's spoken about him has done so with a tone of admiration. They're seeing what leadership looks like, even when the uniform's not on. That might be the most important long-term win of all. But before we continue, please remember to subscribe to the channel and give the video a like. Your support helps us keep bringing you the latest news about the Boston Celtics. Feel free to share your thoughts on the news in the comments as well. Whispers are swirling around the NBA world, and Boston fans might want to brace themselves. Jason Tatum, the Celtics superstar forward, could be on the move. Sources close to the team hint that tensions have been quietly simmering behind the green curtain, and while nothing has been confirmed, the possibility of Tatum leaving Boston has become the hottest topic in league circles. Tatum, who has been the cornerstone of the Celtics roster for several seasons, has carried the team through highs and lows, earning multiple All-Star appearances and cementing his status as one of the premier talents in the league. But insiders suggest that recent contract discussions, combined with the team's shifting strategies, may have created a situation where the superstar is considering his next big step, potentially outside of Boston. The rumor mill is already buzzing with speculation about where Tatum could land if he does decide to leave. Teams with championship aspirations and cap space are reportedly monitoring the situation closely, seeing a potential blockbuster acquisition that could reshape the balance of power in the Eastern Conference. The thought of Tatum in a new jersey has fans across the league holding their breath, while Celtic supporters are nervously debating whether the team can realistically replace a talent of his caliber. Industry insiders also note that Tatum's decision could hinge on a combination of personal ambition and organizational vision. The Celtics have shown they're willing to rebuild around youth and depth, but Tatum might be looking for an environment that can guarantee him the spotlight and a stronger shot at a title. Agents, front offices, and rival players are said to be paying close attention, knowing that even a subtle hint from Tatum could set off a domino effect of trades and negotiations. While Boston's management remains tight-lipped, the rumor has sparked heated debates on social media and sports shows, with analysts dissecting every interview, every post-game comment, and every Instagram story for clues. One thing is certain: if Jason Tatum does decide to depart, it won't just be a trade. It will mark a seismic shift in the NBA landscape, sending shockwaves through fans, players, and the league itself. Until an official announcement is made, the speculation will continue to grow, and Celtics Nation will be left wondering, could the heart of their franchise really be ready to turn the page? That's it for this update. If you enjoyed the video and want to keep receiving exclusive news about the Boston Celtics, please subscribe to our channel and give the video a like. We always appreciate your comments and opinions. See you in the next video.